Can you stay in a home during mold remediation? All right, guys, this is a fantastic question. Let's talk all about mold and mold remediation. Mold's gotten pretty popular over the years here, and there's a few things that you need to take into consideration. First and foremost, every property has mold. It's just something about life and living things where there's going to be mold. The question is what types of mold and how much mold is there? When we talk about mold remediation, this could be as little as you've got some mold in your shower because you need to install a vent fan, or you've got a little bit of mold under the kitchen sink because there's been a leak and you've got to do a remediation of that. Typically, a remediation of that is going to be pretty simple. You're going to want to clean that up. You're going to, first off, you got to figure out where the mold's coming from, why there's a leak, what that's doing. In the shower example, it's because you need a vent fan. If you install a vent fan, you clean it up, you're probably in good shape. One of the things that I've used over the years is a combination of bleach, lemon juice, and water to do those types of minor repairs. It works extremely well, but the first thing you've got to do is you've got to figure out where the problem's coming from, and then you can use that for a remediation. Now, typically, if it's something minor like that, you're going to want to wear a mask, you're going to want to wear gloves. Like I said, equal parts bleach, lemon juice, and water does wonders in cleaning it. Then you've got to paint to remediate that. And you may need to do like a kills or something to make sure you cover that up, make sure it's all gone, and then you make sure that it takes care of itself where the mold is actually gone. That's also something if it's under the kitchen sink, same type of an idea. Let's fix the leak. Once we fix the leak, then we can actually take care of getting the mold out of there and then maybe putting a paint coat on top of it to help make sure it doesn't come back. But the biggest thing to make sure you're doing is that you have fixed the problem so it doesn't come back is probably the number one thing that really needs to happen there. So that's kind of your minor stuff. Now let's talk something major. I'll give you an example on my own personal house. Before I bought my house, a couple bought the house. They had it built with the builder. And one day they went downstairs in the basement and they saw some mold in the sheetrock. Now, something to keep in mind is that mold loves sheetrock. It's like food to them. It's like dessert. It's ice cream. They just eat it up. And so they freaked out. They left in the middle of the night. They were wearing gas masks and they took off and they sued the builder and stopped paying their payment on the property. It's kind of not a great idea. Now, they'd lived in the house for several years. The builder said, "We're not responsible for this. You've lived in the house for several years. We're only responsible for the first year if something like that happens." Well, so they got into a big legal battle. So in the end, the bank foreclosed on the property and the bank put the property up for sale. Now, the listing agent, because of the problems that they heard with the neighbors saying about the mold and all the issues and seeing some mold in the basement, decided to do a mold remediation. So what they actually did is they cut the sheetrock up to the level and past where they saw any type of mold. When they did that, guess what they found? They found that the sewer cap for the clean out was missing. Basically, you have these big black stacks that come down through, and when they do that, that's where when you flush the toilet, it goes down through. Now, what happens is they'll put a cap on some of those so you can do a sewer clean out if something got stuck. Well, the cap that goes on there was either forgotten or never put on, and the sheetrock was put over. So what happened is every time the toilet would flush in a certain bathroom, it would spill back up, get a little bit on the sheetrock, and then it would start to grow and grow and grow. So what they ended up doing is putting a $5 cap, it's probably more like a $2 cap, putting sheetrock back on, and they were back in business and there wasn't any other mold. Now, we were concerned about that just because we were moving into this house. We were really concerned about it. And so we actually hired an environmental engineer who came out and did a mold inspection on the property and checked everything out. And he said, hey, there was more mold on the front step than there is anywhere else in the house. So I would have no concern moving my family into this property. But we were a little scared about it because all the neighbors were like, oh, you're going to die. You're going to have to wear a ventilator, all this type of stuff. What's kind of interesting is how ignorance really can get the best of people. And as a matter of fact, we weren't the winning bidders. We were the second place bidder. And the first place bidder, when they found out about some of these things, freaked out, pulled out of the contract, and we ended up buying the property for a little bit better deal than they had, which I'm happy they backed out because I love my house and love where I live. Now, that type of a mold remediation probably could have been done with me living in the property as well. But let's say you have like massive mold. When you walk in, you can actually feel the mold. You can feel the spores. You can feel the moisture in the air. You can see mold in multiple areas. In a situation like that, it's probably best to get out of the house. But if you're living in a situation like that, you shouldn't be living in that situation anyway. So I would say if you're currently living in a house and you find out there's some mold, you're probably going to be okay living in it as the remediation happens, because it can't be that severe, or you should be not feeling so well. You should be sick. Those things are happening. Now, if you're starting to feel that way, you probably want to get out of the house. Now, I am not an environmental engineer and I am not a doctor, so those are some things you probably want to consult with. But I'd say as a general rule, if the house has a bunch of mold, you want to get it taken care of before you move in. If you're living in the property and you find out that there's a little bit of mold because of a leaky faucet or some of those things we've been talking about, you probably could clean that up and not worry about it in most cases. But if it's starting to affect your health, you're going to want to talk to a doctor and maybe get out of the house for a little bit until it gets done. The good news is mold can be remediated. The first step is finding out what the source of the problem is. As you find out the source of the problem, get that fixed, and then start getting rid of the mold that's actually in there. It's not an overwhelming process unless the house has been inundated with mold. And at that pace, you've got to hire a professional to come out and check those things out, and you probably don't want to be living in the property. Now, I hope this answer has been helpful for those of you that have asked it or voted for this question to be here. And if it has, I would really appreciate it if you'd hit that thumbs up button. If you're interested, if you're talking about mold properties, you may be interested in my motivated seller checklist. It's basically what to say if you talk to a seller that's motivated. If you text me your email address, I will send it to you. So text your email address to 435-294-0433, and I will send that absolutely for free. I also have a video, should I get a mold inspection when buying a house? You're going to want to check that one out, as well as a blog post, Fix and Flip Essentials, How to Manage a House Rehab. If you're not already a subscriber, please consider doing it. I'd certainly love to have you as part of our channel and part of our tribe. Otherwise, make it a very profitable day, and bye for now.